Hi guys, it's Hannah
and Simona,
and we're here with your Daily Dose.
So today we're here with our friend Lillian Paul, and we're going to talk about the arts and how the arts have affected us personally.
Yeah, so I guess I can go first. I have been playing violin for around 8 years already, and I actually started with piano when I was 4 because my dad really loves classical music. And, ever since I was like in my mom's womb, my dad would put like headphones on my mom's stomach and like think that I was listening to classical music. And as I got older, he would always put me in headphones and we'll just listen to classical music everywhere in the house. And then I got into like actually playing it, and I soon really started to love it because I would be in this moment where I wouldn't hear anything around me, and it's just me and my instrument. And I continue playing violin to this day, and it's one of my, areas where I can just release stress, and it's really nice. What about you, Simona?
So I have a lot of experience in the arts. I did dance for almost around 10 years, and I did all types. I did ballet, contemporary, lyrical, jazz, a lot, and that was very fun. And I also did piano. My parents put me in lessons when I was like 8, and I've been doing that for like 4 to 6 years. And then in middle school, I did choir and orchestra, and there I did cello, and then I switched to viola. And now I just play viola, and then over quarantine, I learned how to play guitar. So I don't know, music has always been in my life, and it's always a really good de-stressor, and it's just really fun to play something or sing something or anything like that. What about you?
Yeah, so I grew up surrounded by music as well, but I think as I grew up, I kind of was drawn away from music and into the more literary arts. So in 7th grade, we had like this random poetry assignment, and I did really well on it. And I was kind of fascinated by syntax and the order of words and how you can arrange them on the page to influence how the reader reads them, like the rhythm and also just the appearance on the page. So I think it's a really cool aspect of drawing in like the visual arts of how words can appear, and then also connecting with people's emotions and making them feel something when they read your words. So I think that's kind of really how I start to develop my love for poetry.
And when did that start?
That started in middle school, so like 6th and 7th grade, basically. So it's been 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, around that time.
Yeah.
What, I guess, like, when it was introduced to you, like, what was the type of topics that you would mostly write about? Or, like, what topics do you write about now in your free time about poetry?
Yeah, so I think when I first started writing, it was mostly to do with assignments. So it might have been like a creative writing assignment that the teacher would use to get us to engage with the book that we were reading or concepts we were learning. But now I kind of write more to kind of come back to what you guys were saying, to de-stress and just kind of cope with things that are happening in my life. So I'll write about, I find myself writing about like my love life frequently, which is annoying, but it happens. And just kind of writing about like my experiences and like what I've seen. And
Yeah, usually I would just listen to songs or play songs that I already knew, but over the past couple months, everything's been like super stressful and overwhelming. So I started trying to like write my own stuff, and it's actually been really fun. And it helps to put things in perspective, and kind of, even if something's stressful, you can still make something out of it and make something positive. So it kind of changes your view on certain aspects that you don't like, and you can make it into something that you really, really appreciate and enjoy, which is also really good.
Yeah, so something about us three is when we were sophomores, we took English, honors English 2, and for our unit we had to write a lot of poetry, and we had to, do a poetry slam. And something memorable that I really did, and I don't know if you two did it, is I would write my poetry in like a journal when I was, at times when I was alone or like at nighttime, because I think that's when you get most of your like emotions.
Yeah.
centered, and there's no distraction. So I guess for Lillian, like, is that kind of like what you do? Do you have like a journal, or do you write in a Google Doc, or like what tools do you do to put down your emotions?
Yeah, so I definitely, like, as much as I would love to be one of those like artsy people who has like a journal and I write in it every night, I do not write poetry like as frequently as I would, or as I would like to. And honestly, the inspiration comes at the most random times, like right before I'm trying to go to bed and it's already late and I want to get sleep, but like an idea just comes and I have to write it down somewhere, or something will come in the shower, or like while I'm brushing my teeth. I get a lot of ideas in the bathroom, gonna be honest. It's kind of like my thinking space.
Yeah.
But so I kind of find myself writing a lot of my poetry ideas just in the notes page on my phone, which can produce a lot of anxiety whenever I like lose my phone, or if it dies or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just lose everything. But it's definitely the easiest way to write ideas down quickly, because I always have my phone on me. So
have you thought of like publishing maybe?
Yes, I am actually hoping to publish this summer. I've been working on it for 2 years, and I'm hoping to finish like accumulating enough poetry that's up to my standards to put it all together and publish, hopefully soon.
That's so cool.
So
That's
stay
really
tuned.
cool. Yeah, stay tuned. We'll definitely put it up in this podcast for sure. Yeah. So I guess our three of our kind of different situations with the arts kind of lead to us feeling happier psychologically and mentally, because I think that's really important, since us three are teenagers. We're going through this time of our lives, like when we're maturing into adults, we're getting a lot of pressure, especially in COVID-19. Like, this is huge for us.
Definitely.
I don't honestly, I don't even know how we're like still coping with it. And Simona, I know that you're taking AP psychology currently as a junior. Is there anything that like you can maybe talk about to the viewers or to the listeners about happy chemicals, or or like serotonin and stuff?
So in AP Psych, we were just working on a unit all about the brain, and so one of the sections in the textbook is all about neurotransmitters, and actually our podcast is named after 4 of those neurotransmitters: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And so those are basically like the happy hormones. And so specifically with music and just things of the arts, dopamine is kind of the main neurotransmitter. And so that dopamine is like, it's the happy hormone, it's the pleasure hormone. So when you're doing music and things like that, that neurotransmitter is like going everywhere basically, because if you enjoy it, it's like going everywhere. This happens a lot with, if you enjoy sports, like that happens. It's just, it causes you happiness. And so that's what music can do. And then when you're also doing it with someone else, like if you're singing a duet or doing something like that, that's where oxytocin comes in, which is more of like the love hormone. And so that's actually why in a lot of like movies and just in life, if you're like singing with someone and you look them in the eyes, like,
oh yeah,
like butterflies, that kind of thing, that's oxytocin. That's what's happening in your brain. And oxytocin is actually part of like the opioid like system, and that's pain relief. And there's actually a lot of studies saying that the amount of like love can actually substitute like a drug addiction because of how much it affects your brain.
That's really interesting.
That's why it kind of ties into like you should get like 20 hugs a day, kind of like saying, because it gives you that oxytocin.
Like your relationships, whether it's like romantic or just platonic, just in life, benefit you and are like so important to your like even your physical health. Like it's all connected. So it's actually really interesting. So music is like a huge part.
Yeah, music is a huge part. Yeah,
just like being overall like happier.
And to the people who like don't really have that relationship with humans, like I think music or art in general can really give that boost of our brain chemicals, because I think that is vital to how to live as a human. And to the people who don't really have like personal connections with or like relationships with a lot of other people, you know, this kind of doing the arts or listening to music that can increase the amount of serotonin and oxytocin, especially in the times of like COVID-19, like last year when everyone was in lockdown mode. You know, we couldn't really see our relatives or our best friends or significant others because of this lockdown, and I could actually feel it myself. I couldn't see a lot of my friends for a while, and I almost felt really lonely and kind of closed off. But you know, I had this violin with me. Number one, it like really motivated me to, you know, pursuing the instrument, and it just gave me like this safe closure of being myself. Does that kind of apply with you as well? Like during COVID, you writing poetry, does that kind of help as well?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely had more time to write. It was just whether or not I was inspired, because I honestly cannot like induce inspiration for poetry, which can get very annoying with like the poetry assignments that we were talking about last year for honors English too. But yeah, no, there were definitely instances where I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm feeling lonely, and I would write about it and it would definitely help. But in some ways it also makes you feel a little bit more lonely because you're just kind of like sitting in your room just writing.
Yeah,
you know.
That is very true. Yeah. But again, I think it is a really good coping mechanism when you don't
It's a
have
different kind of coping
yeah, it's a
mechanism.
different kind.
It's kind of like stepping back and really having to like connect with and observe like what's been happening with your life and actually deal with the emotions that you're feeling, and which will be a lot of like, it's a fault of mine. I'll just kind of push things to the side because I know I have to get things done. Like for school recently, I've been like, okay, I'm kind of sad, but I got to get stuff done, so we'll deal with that later. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's a really good way to like, when you get older, you can look back at
definitely
your work and you're like, I felt like this.
Yeah, that's something I'm like really excited about, is to see how far, if I choose to pursue like any type of music or like writing anything, I want to see like what I was doing like a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, the evolution.
Yeah, I think that would be so cool. Like, I don't know, that's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And especially during COVID, like for me, I'm an introvert. And so I didn't expect myself to be so like affected about not seeing people, but it really like took a toll on me. And so finding comfort in the arts was like a really good way to kind of cope with all the things that I wasn't expecting myself to be feeling.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm like, I think us three should be kind of glad that we grew up in this kind of artsy environment, and the place that we live currently, you know, it has a huge, like a really rich history of the arts. And I'm really glad that our school promotes that really well as well. And yeah, I guess it really affects students like us,
Definitely.
people who are the same age as us, because we're going through this huge transition in life.
And I also feel like you don't really have to have a strong education in music to be able to still enjoy it and like experience the same things.
Yeah, definitely.
Like anyone can like listen to it or like make it. Like it's just like it doesn't have any boundaries about what you can do.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be skilled or take private lessons or anything
of
to
course.
still enjoy it. So it's like a super universal thing that can help everyone like, cope and just be happier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of my coping mechanisms is probably eating.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we're like growing, so I tend to eat a lot now. Not really good for the diet, but keeps me happy. Speaking of which, a couple days ago, it was National Noodle Day. Happy Noodle Day, everyone.
Yeah, everyone go have some noodles.
Go have some noodles. Lillian, what's your favorite noodles?
Definitely rigatoni or ramen. It's the way to go.
Yeah, I really love Taiwanese beef noodle soup. I don't know. It's like savory and like beefy, but it's good. What about you, Simona?
I really like the bow tie pasta, like I think it's called farfalle.
Ooh.
And also the like multicolored swirly. I don't know what it's called, but they're very, very good.
Swirly pasta.
Swirly pasta.
Yeah. I mean, you know, food is great. other than art, I think food is another
Yeah.
way that I can boost
Yeah,
your
Comfort
you
food.
have to
serotonin.
feed your brain too.
Yeah, you gotta
So-
feed it. So
Have some noodles.